Hey, what's going on? It's Adam here. And if you're brand new to my channel, I just want to welcome you. And the goal of my channel is to help you become the fittest financial you. And we look at the spiritual realm and the practical side, as I believe that the spiritual side is just as real as the practical side. And so I want to welcome you to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about if you don't trust your spouse with money, you've got to watch this. You know, one of the things is that if you have mistrust of finances in your home, it robs you of joy. It can create knots in your stomach. It separates you and your spouse. And most divorces are caused by financial problems. So I want to share today my personal stories in my own marriage. I want to share with you practical things that you can do to rebuild trust with your spouse if you guys don't if you guys are not on the same page around money. And I want to be able to share some action steps that you can actually walk away and implement. And a lot of times the mistrust happens because of a couple things. Sometimes it can come because your upbringings were different. And so your value systems around money aren't on the same page. And I remember this with Brianna and I. When Brianna and I were married, we came from two totally different value systems. Her family was loose with money. My mom was tight with money. Because we had to, she was a single mom, so she had to be. And so we bring those two worlds together and it created a tornado in our marriage around finances. And so we had to work together to be able to get on the same page with our value system. And I'll share a little bit more on how we did that in a minute. But sometimes your relationship around money is struggles because you are at different risk. Like you might be more of a risk taker and your spouse is more about safety. And so you don't feel like you guys can make as much money together or be on the same level together. And oftentimes God puts us in relationships with people opposite of us. And so it's very rare that a driver and a driver come together. It's usually a driver and a creative, or a driver and a nurturer, or a driver and a home taker, a home caretaker. So it's very rare to see two driven couples. So often it's your opposite. So how do you deal with that? Brianna and I, we both love God, but we're very opposite in that I was the driver and her priority was the home. And so those are two different lenses and value sets when you're thinking about opportunities together. Sometimes there is hidden spending that goes on that creates trust because you might feel like your partner is controlling and you don't trust to tell them things that you want to buy, but you also feel like you have needs and you don't want to be restricted. And so sometimes, you have a spouse that is making hidden purchases and there's dishonesty. Sometimes there's past debt mistakes that keep you in this as well, where maybe your partner has not stewarded money well. And so you don't trust them with money now. And then there's a lack of communication where you guys don't even like talking about money because every time you do, it can create more problems than what was there before. So you just rather not talk about it. So these are some of the challenges that happen in marriages that cause fights, cause disconnection, cause deep resentment, and it's hard. And if you're going through that, I have complete compassion for where you are. But I want to be able to share with you that it can get better. And I want to share how it got better with me and Brianna. And so there's a verse, and it's Amos 3:3, and I want to read that here. And it says, "Can two people walk together without agreeing on the direction?" And that is why the first step of being on the same page with your spouse financially is you've got to make the decision to be in unity. We're in a world where everybody wants to keep their bank accounts separate. They go, my money's here, your money's here, and everything, you pay this portion, I pay this portion. These are your bills, these are my bills. But legally and morally, God has designed you to be one. And so in order to be on the same page financially, we need to merge and have unity in your financial vision as a household. That is the first thing. So this is hard for couples. Wait, what do you mean though? I don't want them to have access to my bank account. I make more money than this spouse. Or that's not fair because, I don't want them to see everything that I'm spending. That's none of their business. They have their budget and I have my budget. They could spend on whatever they want. I spend on what I want. This is a divisive mindset that causes a lack of unity and it creates division in your marriage. So one of the things that Brianna and I have done is we've merged our finances under one account. All of our money whether I make it or she makes it, goes into one account. And what I bring in and what she brings in are completely different. So if we want to talk about fairness, there's no excuse to not merging finances. It doesn't matter if one makes more than the other. And this is why you need to have one system, which is the second step. So Brianna and I, we tried a lot of different programs. We actually tried the Ramsey system. And although I have a lot of respect for what Dave Ramsey has done, it didn't work for our family. And the reason why it didn't work for our family is because carrying around cash envelopes didn't work, because most purchases online today are online. And it didn't make sense. And we also liked getting the credit card points. We didn't want to throw away that because that was free money. And we've taken trips on credit card points, and we like the benefits of that. It felt very restrictive, and it was not realistic for today's time, is how we felt. So we tried that system. We also tried different apps to try and budget, and nothing worked. So I had to develop our own financial system in our home. And that is actually how we created Financial Increase University, which we are going to be releasing this spring. So if you're not on the wait list for that, get on the wait list for that. It's our entire personal budgeting system that allowed us to be able to bring unity. And to give you context, there was a lot of distrust with Brianna and I around finances, because when I was growing our business in the early years, we didn't have a lot of money left over. And there would be Amazon boxes stacked to the door, and there would be 2 pairs, 3 pairs of heels, purses, bags, jewelry, dresses. I mean, it was chaotic. And no matter how hard we tried to communicate, it just wasn't sticking. And some people struggle with alcoholism. Some people struggle with drugs. My wife struggled with shopping. That was her addiction. And so we had to build a system and unify on this system to offset this addiction that she was dealing with. So what we decided to do is we put all of our money into one account, and we created an allowance together. So that allowance went on a prepaid card. So I get my allowance and she gets her allowance. Now, who gets more? Because I'm the main breadwinner. Do I get more or does she get more? It doesn't matter about who makes more. You guys are one. So that budget gets split, but you can discuss it, and if it makes sense. For example, my hobbies are golf, and my hobbies require me to do a little bit more networking and being out with more people, so I tend to need a little bit more as an allowance than she does. So we came to an agreement. So my allowance is a little bit more than her allowance, but we're in unity around that. So that money goes from one checking account into prepaid accounts. So whatever she spends on that allowance, I no longer have resentment for. I no longer care what she brings home. I no longer care if she buys the most ridiculous pair of heels or dress. I don't care what she brings home, because that money is allocated to be spent. And because I oftentimes am a saver, I get my money rolled over and I get to save up to buy the things that I really want to buy. So it rewards the saver and it rewards the spender, because the money is allocated to be spent or to be saved. Then all of our bills go into different checking accounts to pay off different savings accounts. And then from there, we're able to pay off all of our bills. Okay. So the whole entire process that we follow is one system. Our money is one. Our mindset is one. Our system is one. When we began to do this took care of so many different problems, because the system was designed to help us steward, and we didn't have to try and rely on discipline or rely on communicating on every expense. So it created freedom while we had boundaries. So you need a system in your home that can set the boundaries for you, so that you have a standard of how things flow, so that accountability can be had. Because now there's clear structure, so we're on the same page, where before every purchase that came through, I'm like, oh, what did she buy today? Oh, where is she spending money today? And then she's wondering, oh gosh, here it comes. I spent money on something that I liked, and Adam's going to, hold me accountable again. Now we don't have those arguments because our system is clear. So you need that. So if you don't have a system in your home that you follow, get on the wait list, because we're dropping it this spring. It's going to be our whole curriculum. Okay. Now, the third thing that you need stewardship over selfishness. Okay. You need stewardship over selfishness. You need to decide that you are going to come together and you are going to steward money and honor it the way that God convicts you to steward it. There needs to be a conviction from heaven down. And the reason why is because conviction is what is going to allow the budget to stick. The problem is that you have all these budgeting programs today that are saying, move your money here, don't spend this, cut out coffee. But if you're not convicted by the Holy Spirit, it does not stick. But when you do feel the conviction of the Holy Spirit, you go, man, I probably shouldn't be buying that. And the obedience now is able to guide you because you feel the Holy Spirit telling you, hey, this is how you should be taking care of the dollars that God is providing for you. And when you both as a couple can get on the same page and share those convictions, now you're not only unified with a system, but you're unified with the Holy Spirit in how you steward God's money. And this is something that Brianna and I went through because we began to ask each other, hey, where are your convictions? Is the Holy Spirit convicting you when you go out and you're buying 2 pairs, 3 pairs? And she's like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, like when I make purchases, I can feel the Spirit like tug on me like, hey, that's not a good use of funding, or hey, that you shouldn't be doing that. And she's like, well, that's interesting because I didn't really think to bring in the Holy Spirit into my purchases because she has a great relationship with God. But sometimes when you don't bring God into conversations, it's easy to not feel that conviction. And so today we're now on the same page because we both feel that conviction in our spending. And now she's actually, I think, a better steward sometimes at saving money than I can be because she's just really, really become sensitive to the Holy Spirit in this way. So if you have a spouse that you haven't been able to trust, you have a spouse that's been a spender, you have a spouse that hasn't been stewarding money, I want to encourage you that rather than trying to be the controller, allow the Holy Spirit to bring conviction in their spending by having a conversation with them and saying, hey, when you spend money, what is the Holy Spirit showing you about your stewardship? And allow your spouse to share because they might say, you know what, I've never even invited the Holy Spirit to direct my finances. I just buy what I think I need or what I feel I need in the moment. And that shift now moves you having to be the controller to allowing the Holy Spirit to be the one to bring the conviction. And that is where you're unified, you have a system in place, and you're allowing the Holy Spirit to do his job while you're doing your job, which is to love and facilitate and create the environment for your spouse to grow closer to the Lord. So rather than see finances as something that is hard and it's full of boundaries and you have to cut back, instead, be under one system and allow the Spirit to be in unity and allow the Holy Spirit to convict you so that you have freedom. And so now you don't have to think about your decisions. Like me and Brandon, we haven't argued over money in like 5 years. And it's not because of the amount of money that we're bringing in. It's because we're clear. And that's what I desire to see for each and every one of you guys. Okay. Last verse I want to share is 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. And this is why I think being married is way better than being single, is because right now there is a message in the world that there's no benefit in being married. But this verse disproves it because 2 people are better than one because they can help each other succeed. So when you are unified with your spouse, there's power in that because you're working together and you're able to bring your gifts together. You're able to allow God to use you together, and there's purpose and there's vision and there's teamwork together. But this cannot happen when there's mistrust. And so a lot of times you can avoid hard conversations as a way to self-protect from possible disappointment or from being discouraged or because of past conflicts in communication. But it's important to bring to your spouse a clear ask as far as what do you need from them to get on the same page financially. And so I'm going to make another video on that, on how to fight well with your spouse, how to have family meetings around finances. So stay tuned. If you like this conversation, we're going to be sharing more about how to be able to win your finances at home and in your life so that you could become the financially fittest you. So thank you for watching today. I'll leave the waitlist to the Financial Increase University waitlist in the description below. And I want to thank you so much for being with us. I'll see you next time.